This is Dr. Vidya Raman. She is the Director of Preoperative Anesthesia, the Senior Director of Faculty Mentoring and Clinical Guidelines Management at Nationwide Children's, and she's also a member of the board for the Society of Pediatric Anesthesia. Thank you for joining me today. And for those of us who may not know you very well, can you please give me a brief description about yourself?
Yeah, thank you, Allison, for inviting me. It's a great honor to be here. I've been a pediatric anesthesiologist for about almost 20 years. I am, as Allison mentioned, been at Nationwide for 15 years, and am the senior faculty mentoring and clinical guidelines management director. And it's a great pleasure to be here and chat with you.
How have you managed to balance your academic career and your personal life?
There's no such thing as balance, okay? So there's things that take priority, and so that's what you have to do. And you have to make your choices. I've made my choices earlier. I don't really socialize very much. I don't really I network, I don't socialize. So there's a difference, and I think people don't realize that it's a difference. Especially women. You know, it's harder for us to do that because, it's, with the, all this now, it's still awkward. You can't just go and hang out and have a drink with, a male colleague, especially, I'll tell you, I don't hang out with any of my male colleagues at my local institution and have just a drink with them. No. That would be odd and people would comment. If a group of us go, that's different. But so that's sort of a barrier for women, and especially of a certain age and gender. That's how it's hard because you don't have those out of work environment to really socialize. But you network, and you have to network, and you have to do it strategically. Like we're talking to people and making sure you're known and whatever. And the other thing is, you talk about balance, and it's like it's not really balance. It's what takes priority. Like, okay, if your kid is in doing something, or you have to do, like right now I'm like, I have a senior in high school, I got to get him into college somehow. Some college somewhere. It's like something. And so we need to get him out, and so that is a priority, and so that's what I'm that's what you're focused on. So I think you have to prioritize, and it's not necessarily balanced. And so I think it's a myth that you can do it all. You can't. You just have to choose what you want to do at what time. Mm-hmm. And I was fortunate my husband was able to support me through some of this. I did come back to bad things when I went away. So I came back from, I remember I came back from Hong Kong, and my husband's like, oh, our kid has been encouraged to stay home. I'm like, that is a suspension. That is not encouraged. I'm like, what do you mean encouraged to stay home? I'm like, oh, I'm like jet lag. I'm like, oh, coming back from India, there was water dripping from the ceiling. Things like that. There's like, what the heck? And you're just like, you're like going from one crisis to the other. And so sometimes it's not balanced, and sometimes things fall apart, and you just gotta figure it out. And then, I did have this opportunity, like I said, for a chief position, and I was really, really I was like this close to taking it. But my husband's like, at this point when I'm this close to taking it and signing on the line, I have a contract in hand, I'm giving it to a lawyer, that kind of thing. He's like, we can't do this. I'm like, what? I thought we already talked about this. I'm like, I'm this close. And he goes, no, you can't be a weekend warrior. I can't single parent this kid. And I'm like, okay. I remembered my Hong Kong experience. I'm like, I can't come home to weekend something. I'm like, oh my God. And so, yeah. And there is guilt because you're like, what am I doing it for myself when I should be doing it for this kid? Or whatever. And so there's a lot of guilt. There's a lot of like, am I really doing something that great that it is costing me this? That sort of thing conversation happens. And like and I really like Indra Nori. She's one of my favorite. But she said, like, leave your crown in the garage. I mean, when you're home, you're a mom, you're your wife, you have other obligations. So your study that you're trying to look at, the whatever, and write something or meet somewhere is not necessarily everybody else's priority. So you gotta leave that. So I think everybody has to figure out what their priority is, and and do it, and something's gonna give. Like, I have the cleanest house. I don't have the nicest. I don't socialize. I don't. But that's why I decided to. That's my priority. So it depends what you want.
Right. Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard decisions and hard hard decisions, and it's just hard to balance. Not balance. I don't like that word because, as
I
you
don't like
said,
that
it's a
word. It's not. It's
priority.
not balance. It's
It's
chaos.
not. It's chaos all the time. So it's just picking one chaos over the other.
I'll tell you, some people don't realize I have 3 kids. I have a special needs kid too, so it's hard, and at times it's overwhelming. It's chaos, and you just have to sometimes survive.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I guess from talking to other women, no, everyone's had similar situations and similar conversations within themselves and with their families to figure out, how they're going to navigate everyone's goals. And that's what it comes down to. You have to have a great partner in your life and supportive family. So you
Yeah,
can.
and I think you have to live with whatever decision you make. You have to live with the fallout, from that decision, or the benefits of that decision. I mean, you hear of all these women who are successful who have lived apart from their family,
Mhm.
you know, and that's a decision they made. They have to, hopefully they were able to do it at a time where, there wasn't, maybe they had, like, a better support system or whatever. I mean, we saw it in the first family with, Miss, the Obamas and thing. She's a full lawyer, and she took a step down from that to manage their house, right? So we saw it openly, in the public domain. So I think women all over, or everyone, I think men and women, but I think the burden's a little more on the women, still, due to all the gender issues that are there. But I think they have a harder time, and they have to maybe make a little more sacrifice in these things.
Yeah. Talking about sacrificing. This past year has been super challenging with COVID, and we all have personal challenges. What have you done to help prevent burnout for yourself?
Yeah, I know. I think it's important to take time for yourself and do things that get you whatever, relax, or mindset is free. I mean, I haven't, like you said, personal challenge. I haven't seen my parents in 2 years. They live in Seattle, and then they got stuck in India, and then fortunately got out. I mean, everybody's been healthy, thank God. I hadn't, but it's that's been challenging. And also, with the kids, this homeschooling, not schooling, going in school, out school. That's been hard on everyone. I mean, the whole families have been. I mean, people don't realize that's just the crazy, the chaos and the craziness that happens with that in-house school. Oh, and mine are older, and it was still awful. And yeah, but I think you need to take time for yourself and do things that relax you and get you back to normal. For me, it's reading trashy novels, and so I just escape to some weird for some reason I like hockey novels. I don't know why, but I do. I don't play hockey. I don't know anything about it, but I like but I don't know. So just reading whatever you like to do, whether it's running or health issues or whatever. I mean, I do like to definitely exercise and do those things, but those are sort of like things I have to do. They're not necessarily enjoyment sort of things. Hockey novels, I really like. Those are things that helps me. But I think you need to have something like that.
Hmm. No, it's I have tried to find. I like taking classes to learn how to cook or learn how to do something totally that I don't know. I really enjoy doing that. Like the other day, I went with my friend and we went on fishing, which I had never done fishing in my life. So
No, you have to find something that you like that can put you into the mind space where you're able to relax or at least get away from your everyday day-to-day thing. I think the other problem I have is my list is always so long to do, and so but I think you have to be mindful also, like I think you need to these business people say like you need to take time and just think. And I think my walk, I do thinking, like, like what have I done? What can I do? Where do I need to go? That kind of stuff, where you have to think through and relax, like sort of be mindful and thinking about it. But, I do make lists, like I have lists going on and it seems like the list is always there and there's something going on always. So, for work or for kids or something. And so I think that you have to know that you just have to go, just get things done. It just has to happen.
yeah. Since you mentioned mindfulness, I know I struggle with mindfulness. I feel like I don't have time to do anything because of the constant chaos. How do you even pencil that in?
Well, that's what I mean. You have to make it a part of your day, like brushing your teeth. You brush your teeth every day, right? I hope. So, like if it means like doing it while you brush your teeth, then do it. Do it while you brush your teeth. Like think about, just take it's not a big production, right? It's taking 5 minutes and just thinking like what went and just saying, like somebody said, that positive thinking. I always say hogwash. My husband always says, "Tell me three positive things." But but I think it helps if you think positively, like say three things that went well, three things that didn't go well. What do in a generic sense? And I think doing it at night is thing because the day has finished, and maybe if you brush your teeth at night, um to do it then. Okay, three things that went well today. Boom, boom, boom. Three things that didn't. Boom, boom, boom. It's easy. That's you're done.
Mhm.
I think you have to make it part of your routine, um, and do it. And it's really, in the best. I mean, the people who are most successful, I think one key ingredient is that they really know themselves
Mhm.
and they know like what works for them and what doesn't work for them. And that's, I think, a measure of if you look at any of them as successful, I think they know that. And so that's what you have to figure out for yourself. What works for me, what doesn't work for me. Sometimes what works for somebody else doesn't work. That's why I tell people, like, this is what I did, but I don't know if anyone else can replicate that. But you can use parts of it, to see if it works for you.
Mhm.
So,
Mhm.
and then some people get agitated because, like you're not exactly what worked for you is not working for them. And then they feel like, oh, she's just a liar because, but it's not that everything is different for every individual, so you have to just see
Mhm.
what works for you. But I think like mindfulness, like anything else, has to be part of your like your life, and it should be something that you're very conscious of doing and make it actually part of your life. And I'm pretty good about that. I put it at some part of my it's in my routine to think about, like, okay, this is the day, this is what went on, what went well, this is what went bad. I need to avoid this. I need to avoid this person. Whatever. So you have to do that.
Thanks for sharing that. That's it's important to be more mindful, even though it sounds like another task to do.
Yeah. This is just a small part, and I think it's important. It doesn't take a few minutes and just do it, because I think it clarifies your vision and helps you with what, like, when you're stuck, or when you need to think about where you need to go. It helps you kind of clarify for yourself and codify for yourself what you need to do.
Mhm, mhm. So, in closing, if you had one piece of advice for young attendings starting out in the field of anesthesia, what would it be?
I think get a mentor. Get a mentor. That's um I think that's the biggest advice. I mean, I really believe in that. I think if you get someone to help you learn what's out there, and not waste time, like, how much time, if somebody's willing to help, also listen, like, listen to see what they say. Like, there's a reason that they're successful. And I'll tell you, I like people who come up to me and ask me to mentor them rather than trying to find someone to mentor, because you want people who are vested in themselves and who are vested in learning. So
Mhm, mhm,
that my biggest advice would be get a mentor, get someone who's interested in you and interested in your success.
mhm,
And you can tell right away. I mean, we can all tell if somebody who's interested in doing it, and those people who aren't. The people are like, oh, just, like I was once asking. I asked that question about this grand rounds, and how do I get grand round? How do I, start doing that lecture kind of stuff and be out there? And I was told to go into a nursing lectures, and I was like, what?
mhm,
How's that even? And that's, for promotion, that's not even counted. I'm like, that's not fair, and that's obviously someone who's not interested in you. So, that's important to know who's interested in you, and finding someone who's interested in you and your success is important.
mhm. Well, thank you. Thank you for your time and for your valuable advice. It's been great talking to you and a lot
Yeah.
of fun. So, thank you.
Thank you, Allison. Thank you for thinking of me. It's great.